In the quiet community of Whitesburg, Kentucky, nestled in the Appalachian foothills, the Letcher County Courthouse stood as a symbol of order, justice, and the steady rhythm of small-town life. For generations it was a place where neighbors gathered, disputes were settled, and the law was respected. The courthouse, with its brick facade and familiar clock tower, was more than just a building. It was the heart of the community, a place where people felt safe and protected by those sworn to serve them. But all of that changed on a September day in 2024. When a single shocking act shattered the town's sense of security and left residents reeling. The courthouse, once a beacon of stability, became the epicenter of a tragedy that no one could have anticipated. The town was rocked to its core when District Judge Kevin Mullins was shot and killed inside the courthouse, allegedly by the county's own sheriff, Sean "Mickey" Steins. The news spread quickly, first as whispers among neighbors, then as headlines that drew the eyes of the nation to this small Kentucky town. This was not a random act of violence. The shooting took place in the judge's private office, a space meant for confidential discussions and the quiet work of justice. The fact that the alleged perpetrator was the very person entrusted with upholding the law sent shockwaves through Whitesburg and far beyond its borders. The accused, Sheriff Steins, had once been a respected figure in the community, a man who wore the badge with pride and was seen as a protector. Now, he stood at the center of a tragedy that called into question the very foundation of trust in local institutions. Residents struggled to reconcile the man they thought they knew with the shocking allegations against him. As news crews descended on Whitesburg, the story quickly gained national attention. The safety of public officials, so essential to the functioning of democracy, was suddenly in doubt. People across the country began to ask, if such a thing could happen here, in a close-knit town where everyone knows each other, could it happen anywhere? The legal battle that followed was as complex as it was emotional. Steins' defense team focused on his mental state, raising questions about the pressures faced by those in law enforcement and the resources available to support them. Meanwhile, Judge Mullins' family and supporters called for broader accountability, demanding answers and justice for a loss that could never truly be repaired. This story forces us all to confront difficult questions about the fragile intersection of mental health, law enforcement, and public trust. In the aftermath, the people of Whitesburg, and communities everywhere, are left to grapple with how to heal, how to rebuild trust, and how to ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. Sean "Mickey" Steins was more than just the sheriff. He was a neighbor, a protector, and a familiar face in nearly every corner of Letcher County. In a place where everyone knows each other, the sheriff's role goes far beyond enforcing the law. He was the person people called when they needed help, whether it was a lost dog, a family dispute, or something far more serious. Steins was seen at local events, chatting with residents at the diner, and always ready to lend a hand. His presence was a constant reassurance to the people of this tight-knit Kentucky community. As a central figure in Letcher County, Steins was woven into the daily life of the town. The courthouse, the main street, and the community gatherings all felt his influence. People trusted him to keep the peace and to look out for their best interests, and his reputation was built on years of service and dedication. His job meant overseeing deputies, managing the jail, and working closely with the courts, including Judge Kevin Mullins. Every day, he balanced paperwork, emergencies, and the needs of his staff. He was the bridge between law enforcement and the judicial system, making sure that justice was served fairly and efficiently. Judge Mullins, respected and dedicated, presided over cases big and small, shaping lives from the bench. He was known for his fairness, his deep understanding of the law, and his commitment to the people who appeared before him. Mullins was a steady hand in the courtroom, guiding the legal process with integrity and compassion. The professional relationship between Steins and Mullins was vital to the justice system. Their offices were just steps apart, and their collaboration ensured that the law was upheld and that the community felt safe. They often discussed cases, shared concerns, and worked together to solve problems that affected everyone in Letcher County. That proximity made the alleged violence even more shocking, a collapse from within, not an attack from outside. The courthouse, once a symbol of order and safety, became the scene of chaos and disbelief. Residents who had always trusted their leaders were left stunned, struggling to process how such a tragedy could happen so close to home. After the shooting, Steins resigned, was arrested, and now faces charges of first-degree murder and murder of a public official. The man who once wore the badge now found himself on the other side of the law, his future uncertain and his past service overshadowed by the gravity of the accusations. He's being held without bond, as the community struggles to understand how a trusted sheriff could become the accused. Neighbors gather in small groups, sharing disbelief and sorrow, while reporters try to piece together the story. The sense of security that once defined Letcher County has been shaken to its core. The justice system he once served now stands in judgment of him. The courtroom, where he once worked alongside Judge Mullins, is now the place where his fate will be decided. The roles have reversed, and the community watches, hoping for answers and for justice to prevail. Letcher County is left to reckon with a devastating breach of trust. The shockwaves from this tragedy will be felt for years, as residents try to rebuild their sense of safety and community. The story of the sheriff and the judge is now a cautionary tale, a reminder of how quickly everything can change, even in the most familiar of places. The day at the courthouse began like any other, routine, almost mundane. Staff arrived early, exchanging greetings as they passed through the grand entrance. Security officers performed their usual checks, and the hum of daily business filled the halls. No one could have predicted the horror that would soon unfold within these walls. Surveillance video, later reviewed by authorities, reportedly shows Steins moving purposefully through the corridors. He entered Judge Mullins's chambers, where the judge was quietly working at his desk, surrounded by the familiar trappings of justice, legal books, case files, and the steady tick of a wall clock. In a moment that would change countless lives, Steins allegedly produced a handgun without warning. The attack was sudden, violent, and captured in chilling silence by the courthouse cameras. The footage, later described as haunting, showed the judge caught completely off guard, with no time to react. Investigators quickly descended on the scene, meticulously documenting every detail. The methodical nature of the shooting became a focal point for detectives, suggesting a level of planning and intent that raised even more questions. Every piece of evidence was scrutinized, from bullet casings to the trajectory of the shots. The aftermath was chaos. Law enforcement officers rushing to secure their own workplace, sirens echoing through the halls. Outside, word spread quickly, and the community gathered in shock and disbelief. The courthouse, a symbol of order and safety, had become the scene of unimaginable violence. Steins was apprehended within minutes, handcuffed and led away by officers who knew him as a familiar face. In subsequent civil court filings, he admitted to the shooting, a confession that sent ripples through the legal community and beyond. With the facts of the crime established, the legal question shifted dramatically, from who committed this act to why did it happen. Steins's defense team argued that he was not in control of his actions, raising the specter of diminished responsibility. They claimed that a profound mental breakdown, not malice or premeditation, drove Steins to violence. Psychologists and mental health experts were brought in to assess his state of mind, searching for answers in the tangled web of his mental health history. Now, the case stands at the intersection of law and psychology, hinging on the complex question of mental health and criminal responsibility. The outcome will not only determine Steins's fate, but may also shape how such tragedies are understood and prevented in the future. Steins's defense is clear. He admits the act, but claims insanity. His lawyers argue he suffered from extreme emotional disturbance and pre-existing medical conditions, including symptoms he attributed to California encephalitis. A social worker's jail assessment describes Steins as psychotic and unaware of the charge's gravity. His erratic behavior, including combative episodes, painted a picture of profound instability. Under Kentucky law, a successful insanity defense could reduce charges and remove the death penalty from consideration. The defense aims to show Steins was not a cold-blooded killer, but a man overtaken by illness. The courtroom battle will pit psychiatric evidence against the facts of the crime. The outcome could redefine justice in this tragic case. For Judge Mullins's family, the loss is deeply personal. His widow and children have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Steins, seeking accountability beyond the criminal trial. The suit also targets 3 Sheriff's Department employees, alleging they ignored clear signs of Steins's instability. The family claims colleagues failed to intervene, allowing a dangerous situation to escalate. Their lawsuit raises tough questions about law enforcement's responsibility to act when one of their own is in crisis. It's not just about compensation, it's about demanding change and answers. The Mullins family's fight is a call for accountability at every level. Their pursuit in civil court is a reminder of the human cost behind the headlines. Steins' legal team is invoking sovereign immunity, a doctrine shielding officials from lawsuits for actions taken in their official capacity. They argue that, as sheriff, Steins should be protected from the wrongful death suit. But can shooting a judge ever be considered an official act? The Mullins family's lawyers say no, insisting this was a personal criminal act far outside any official duty. The court must decide where to draw the line between official conduct and personal wrongdoing. The outcome could set a precedent for future cases in Kentucky. This legal battle adds another layer of complexity to an already tragic story. The insanity defense is controversial and rarely successful. Steins' lawyers must prove he was so impaired he didn't understand his actions or their wrongfulness. Prosecutors will argue the attack was planned and deliberate, undermining claims of total loss of control. If found not guilty by reason of insanity, Steins would be committed to a psychiatric facility, not set free. The jury must weigh expert testimony against the brutal facts of the case. The outcome will test the principle that only those with a guilty mind should be punished. This case will challenge public perceptions of justice and mental health. The verdict will echo far beyond the courtroom. Before trial, a grand jury indicted Steins for murder, setting the stage for court. His defense challenged the process, arguing jurors weren't told about his mental health and that proceedings weren't recorded. They claimed these omissions denied Steins a fair process. A judge denied the motions, allowing the case to proceed. These early legal battles lay groundwork for possible appeals. The defense is meticulously building a record of alleged procedural errors. The stakes are high, and every move could shape the final outcome. The shooting left deep scars on Letcher County and the Kentucky justice system. It exposed vulnerabilities in protecting public officials and addressing mental health in law enforcement. Steins' case highlights the urgent need for better mental health support and a culture where seeking help is safe. The tragedy also revealed gaps in courthouse security, prompting nationwide reassessment. The story is a sobering reminder that threats can come from within, not just outside. As legal proceedings continue, the case calls for vigilance, compassion, and reform. Healing will take time, but the demand for change is clear. Letcher County's tragedy is a lesson for communities everywhere.